I want to welcome you to Motivation Monday. And as always, we are going to start our day off with the tip for the week, and then we're going to go into our sales and shout outs. Then from there, we're going to talk about an interesting topic, qualifying a lead to close more business. I think that's what our goal is, to close more business and to have as many customers as we possibly can. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. First thing we're going to talk about, however, is going to be our tip for the week. There was a very interesting blog that was shared last week from AHCP, and it was shared via email, and it came from the CMS regarding our Medicaid marketing calls, and how it's now required that we record those calls. Well, most of you, probably the ones of you who are selling Medicare, already know that as of October 1st, 2022, all Medicare marketing calls must be recorded and retained for 10 years. Well, some interesting things happened since that rule was made back in October 2021. Because there were so much backlash that came from that ruling from the broker community as well as other organizations. The CMS decided as of today, June 5th, that they have a new rule that has been finalized as of today. And this new rule now limits the requirements to record calls between third-party marketing organizations, or TPMOs, and beneficiaries to only those calls regarding sales, marketing, and enrollment. So I thought that was very interesting. It was a very interesting read for me, especially for those of you who are selling Medicare or plan to sell Medicare. I highly suggest that you read this article. And to make things convenient for you, I've actually put a QR code on the screen for you so that you can gain access to the full article, just in case you missed it when it was sent via email. So I am going to leave it here for a moment so that you guys can grab your phones and actually scan that QR code so that you can gain access to that article. It is very, very interesting, and I think it's beneficial to, even if you're not selling Medicare, I think it's interesting for any agent to know about. So I'm going to leave it there for a second so that you can take a look at it. Okay. Hopefully everybody was able to get that. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. And this is my favorite part of, you know what? My screen is telling me that I am muted. Can everyone hear me okay? I just want to make sure you all can hear me okay. If you can, okay, thank you so much, Richard, for letting me know that. I don't know why my screen is saying that I'm muted, but it just popped up that I was muted to you guys. So thank you very much for clarifying that. This is my favorite part of the day when we're doing Motivation Monday, and it is the sales and shout outs. I love it because I like to hear what carriers are doing out there, as well as our top producers. So we're going to start off with our carriers for the week to understand a little bit about what carriers was out there selling the most short-term medical, limited med, accident, critical illness, and dental. And this is going to be for the week of May 29th, which was last week. So when it comes to short-term medical, as well as critical illness, United Health One really led the way. They had a very, very strong week. And then Allstate Health Solutions, when it came to limited med, as well as accident and dental, they also had a very strong week. And when I say a strong week, I mean the numbers were pretty big for those areas, for those carriers. So they had very, very strong weeks. So I wanted to share that with you. If you aren't selling any of those products, you might want to take a look at them because they are being sold and being sold quite a bit. So next, I want to talk a little bit about our agents who have been doing the do out there, so to speak. In short-term medicals, we had Katia Santa Maria. She led the way in sales with short-term medical. And then we have Max Weinstein, who led the way, I think it's pronounced Weinstein, who led the way who was second in short-term medical. And then Mikkel Simmons was in third when it came to short-term medical. As far as limited med, we have William Bruder, who led the way in selling limited med sales. And then Nicole Makoskowitz, I believe it's pronounced. I hope that is how it's pronounced. If it's not, please forgive me. She came in second. And then in accident sales, we have Edward Kisson. And then second, we have Aaron Ellison. I want to congratulate all of our top producers in short-term medical sales, limited med, as well as accident. But I also want to congratulate all of you as well, because you guys have all done such a fabulous job. I looked at the full report and everybody is doing such a wonderful job making those sales, helping your clients. So give yourselves a pat on the back because it was a strong week all around. These were just our top sellers. So congratulations to everyone. So let's go ahead and turn things over to qualifying leads to close more business, our sales topic for the week. I remind myself every morning, nothing I say this day will teach me anything. So if I'm going to learn, I must do it by listening. And I say that for a reason, because when it comes to qualifying a lead, everything that makes us successful in qualifying that lead so that we can close sales, it's all about listening. And it's all about hearing what our clients say. So let's talk a little bit about the actual process of closing a lead through qualifying a sale. And it starts really with, where do you go for leads? And this is the prospecting stage. So this is just as important as everything else that we're going to talk about today, but it is the prospecting stage. And it's something not necessarily we're going to talk about today, because we can talk about it another day, because we only have limited time. But this is, where do you go for your leads? This is something you have to think about when you are looking at qualifying leads. Are you looking at your book of business? Are you going out and purchasing telemarketing leads? What about the walk-in talks that are out there that you can do? Your referrals, are you even asking for referrals from your clients? The policy renewals, are you keeping track of your clients' policy renewals? Do you have a process in place within your CRM system to know when your policies are coming up for renewals? And of course, conducting educational seminars. Are you doing that? And if you are, how are you finding leads there? So the first step in the simplified process is, where do you go to find the leads? And then the second step is really the advertising and the marketing piece of it. How do you get them to notice you? The things that you are doing, the things that you are saying, in order to grab their attention so that they can get to know a little bit more about what it is that you can offer them and how you can help them. And then the last two stages is where we're going to focus on today. And that is what to say once you have their attention. And then once you have their attention, how do you get them to say yes? How do you get them to actually buy? So everything first starts with the phone call. Most of us are not doing door to door anymore. So most of our transactions are happening over the phone. So what we do when we're talking on the phone is absolutely crucial, and how we handle those phone calls is very crucial. So the first thing that I will say to you is that when you not even when you pick up the phone, before you pick up the phone, check yourself and make sure the energy that you have before making that call is in a positive place, that you're ready to be positive and that you're ready to be helpful. Because if you just had an argument with your spouse, or your children are getting on your nerves, or your dog just did something that really he or she shouldn't have done, and it really has just ticked you off, you might want to wait a little while before making a call, because you need to be in that positive place before you actually make that call to anyone. It's a very crucial step. The next thing that I want to say is making sure that you are being timely. Now, that can mean a lot of different things. When we're talking about OEP, we're talking about making sure that you're being timely in preparing for OEP, meaning that like in September, you're starting to look at your book of business, you're starting to reach out to your clients and things like that. But timely also means making sure that if you schedule an appointment with someone, that you are calling them on time, that you are not calling them late, not even 1 minute late. If you are supposed to call someone at 10:05, you should be picking up the phone at 10:03 or 10:04 to make sure that that phone on their end is ringing by 10:05. So that is also being timely as well. Making sure that you're calling during times when your clients are available. So think about this. Most elderly people do most of their business first thing in the morning. So sometimes calling our elderly clients first thing in the morning is the best time to actually call our elderly clients, or maybe a little bit past, I would say 10 o'clock or so is a good time, because some of our elderly clients do all of their doctor appointments right at 8 o'clock. So we want to catch them once they get home. We don't want to call people during the dinner hour, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to get rejection. People are not going to talk to you when they're with their families eating dinner. Think about business owners. If you're trying to call business owners and you're calling them during the busiest part of their day, such as late morning, in the afternoon, early afternoon, that's when they're helping their customers. So they really don't have time for you. So I would say early in the morning for those individuals, as well as later in the afternoon as they're wrapping up their day, is a good time to call those customers as well. So timeliness isn't just about making sure you're calling them on time. It's also thinking about the time of day that you're calling your leads, so that you can actually get them on the phone and they're receptive to accepting your call. The next thing is building rapport and keeping them interested. So a lot of times when I first started this business, I thought that building rapport was all about making sure that I talk to my clients and make them like me. So I wanted to talk to them, and I would talk to some clients for an hour before even start talking about business. That is probably not what you want to do. Building rapport is just about getting that person to understand what you do and how you are there to help them with what's weighing heavily on their mind, which is their health insurance needs. So asking them questions like, how can I help you? What made you place this call today? What else can you tell me about your situation that can help me understand a little bit more about your needs? So once again, asking them questions that is building rapport by getting them to talk. And remember this, guys, building rapport is not about you talking. Building rapport is about getting your clients to talk. not about you talking. It's about getting your clients to talk. Next, express your intentions to help them. I've already said that. Mr. Customer, what can I do to help you today? Why is it important for you to talk about your insurance? Is there something that happened with your current plan that needs to be addressed that maybe that I can help you with? Using terms that are familiar to them, and being short and complete in how you are talking to your clients. So when we're talking to our clients, we want to also make sure that we're not using a lot of jargon, we're being clear, we're being concise. We're asking our clients, ask them when you're talking about deductibles or when you're talking about maximum out of pocket. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? So for that first call, you want to make sure you're not saying things that they don't understand, because if you do, they're not going to necessarily want to talk to you because they don't understand what you're talking about in the first place. Take time to explain, just like I said, what you're talking about so that they can understand. Of course, avoid the slang, the jargon, and the metaphors. Expect rejection and don't take it seriously. We don't know what a person's day look like when we're calling them. Anything could have happened, anything could be happening. Rejection is not personal. Rejection just sometimes means not now. So don't necessarily take that rejection that you might hear as personal. Maybe you can just say to your client, now might not be a good time. When is a better time for me to give you a call? Because it's a lot of times it's not personal at all. We just think it's personal because we hear a lot of rejection. But it could be that they either don't need our services or the time that you call is just not a good call. And then lastly, make sure that you are confident in what you're doing and confident in your conversation. A lot of times, our clients want to know that they're dealing with professionals. They want to know that they're dealing with somebody who knows what they're talking about. And if you are hem-hawing or if you are not presenting yourself as that confident person, that can be detrimental to a call when you're talking to your customers. So those are some tips when you're talking to your customers. The next thing I want to talk to you about is just making sure that your statements that you're making to your customers, your questions that you're asking your customers when you are qualifying them, that they're open-ended questions. We do not want to have the yes/no questions because the yes/no questions really stops the conversation. You know, it really doesn't necessarily foster a good conversation. Make sure that you can help uncertain and reluctant callers by entering into that conversation. So how does that sound? That's the best way that I can describe it. Saying things like to your customers, if you are talking to them about their health needs, how often do you go to the doctor? Tell me a little bit about your current plan that you have. If you can wave a magic wand, what would you change about the plan that you currently have now? What are some things that you like about your current plan? What pharmacies do you use? Asking, not being afraid to ask a budget question. So many people are afraid to ask that budget question because they think that's going to turn them off, but that's just letting you know where you are and where you need to be. So ask, what budget range, Mr. Customer, are you looking to be within so that I can make sure that I am making suggestions that best fit your needs? What have been some of the biggest challenges you have faced when it comes to health insurance? Those are all open-ended questions that is going to get your client to talking and not you talking. Because the more they talk, the more you learn. The more you talk, the less you learn. So making sure that you're doing that. Help people self-discover what they need. Now, this is something I use so much when I sold. I truly believe that it's important not to tell people things but to help them see it and identify it for themselves. So, for example, when you're talking about self-discovery, the easy example, there's a lot of examples, but the easiest one that I can think of is when you're talking to your client and you are trying to discover what their needs are, and this is the qualifying part of it. You might say, Mr. Customer, does heart disease, cancer, or stroke run in your family? And the customer might likely say, yes, it does. Okay, does it also run in your wife's family? Oh, yes, it does. Would you say that you're concerned that if something was to happen to you in that area, would you be concerned about making sure that your deductible is paid for and that other expenses are taken care of while you're incapacitated? And once you ask them those questions and you're helping them to paint this picture in their mind of the big what if, because most people, when they think of health insurance, they're just thinking of the now. When I go get my preventative, when I go get my my annual exam, if I happen to need to get some blood work done. They're thinking of that. They're not necessarily thinking of those catastrophic things that can happen that can really take away from their budget and in many cases cause bankruptcy. They're not thinking about those things. So you have to help them think about it instead of just saying it. Because sometimes if you just say it, it can be a little bit too blunt and a little bit too much in their face. So asking them open-ended questions so that they can self-discover that they need this, it will actually help you close the sale. Because at the end of the sale, you're going to bring back all of those things. Remember, Mr. Customer, when you told me you were concerned about your family history when it comes to stroke. I am going to set up something in the event that this happens to you, that your family is going to be taken care of. And instead of you getting, all of these bills or a get well card and all of that, you're going to actually get a check. Do you think that's something you would want to have? And so you're setting up the close by asking these particular questions and making sure that they also self-discover things. The next thing is, by asking open-ended questions, it helps you to overcome client objections. One of the things that people struggle with, agents and brokers struggle with, is overcoming objections. By asking open-ended questions and bringing up those objections right up front, you're being proactive in actually figuring out what your customer is afraid of. And if you ask those questions you get those answers, it's just going to help you close the deal by avoiding questions that maybe is something that they're concerned about, that you heard in their voice that maybe that they're worried about. By avoiding to ask those questions, a lot of times you're setting yourself up for the person to come back and say, well, let me think about it. But if you just go ahead and say, okay, tell me, Mr. Customer, what is it that you're worried about? Of what I have suggested for you, is there anything that I have missed? Is there anything that I have left out? Because you want to get those objections out there right up front so that you can handle it when you're actually going in for the close. So now let's talk about closing techniques. So what we've done is we've asked questions to build our case. It's like a lawyer in a way. You've asked questions to help build your case. Now it's time to go into your closing techniques. Now you've gotten a lot of information, so it's safe to be assumptive in some of the things that you say to your customers, because you've already asked the questions to know what your clients needs. Offer alternative options. So if a customer was to say, this isn't going to work, you should be ready with plan B. So sometimes some agents, and this is something that I really tend to like, is to have a plan that in my mind, what is a plan for someone who is looking for a tighter budget? What is a middle of the road budget type of plan? And then what is the creme de la creme of a plan that I can offer to my customer? And based on my conversation, that's the direction that I'm going to offer, that's the direction that I'm going to go in. And that comes from the questions that I've asked and the budget questions that I've asked. So, and then if the customer comes back and say, well, I don't know about that, have another alternative that you can actually give to your customer to help them with their needs. Asking sharp angled questions. A lot of people wonder, what is a sharp angled question? A sharp angled question is really a question that is pretty direct, that is going to help them with their decision and help them with closing. Mr. Customer, is there anything that I've missed here? The one that I use constantly, if you can wave a magic wand, what is it that you would want me to change about what I put together for you? If you can get a plan with a lower deductible and still stay within your price range and keep that critical illness that we were talking about, would you be willing to purchase today? That's a sharp angled question. That's just being right there and being direct in your question. Next is inquire about the objections. We've talked about that. Use testimonies. To give you an example, and this is something more personal and not dealing with health insurance, but to give you an example, something that is important to me is getting my hair done from my hairdresser in the way that I want to get it done. So a lot of times when she is using products on my hair or different things on or different techniques on my hair, I want to hear, how has it worked with other people? Because that's going to help me determine if I want to use it, if it's helped that person's hair be healthy, if it's helped that person's hair thrive, then I'm interested. If it didn't, or if she's not sure, or if she's hem-hawing on her answer, let's just stick with what we've been doing. So using personal testimonies to your clients about things you have been able to do to help your customers and how you've been able to help your customers can help make them a believer. That it really helps make them feel that you are the professional that you are, and that you got what they need. You understand them. So use those testimonies and make it relevant to the fact-finding information that you were able to locate earlier. And then summarizing the point. I can't say enough about summarizing your points at the end. So the goal of the summary is not only to let the customer know of what you're intending to set up for them. That's very important. But it's also to give them the opportunity and the permission, not really the permission, but the opportunity to say, no, this isn't what I'm looking for. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. And it's nothing wrong with saying to your client, Mr. Customer, before I summarize everything that I'm going to recommend for you, I need you to do me one favor. I need you to be able to tell me no. Can you do that for me? If there's anything in my summary that is not what you want, can you tell me no? And you will not believe how much relief this gives your customers. They can say no, they know they can say no, but the fact that you are giving them permission to say no lets them know that you're the type of person that you can you can change things and make things happen for them without it being specifically your first recommendation. So that is really, really important to also consider as well. I see a little comment here. Please, that's a good one. I have never had that happen before, but that is a good one. That is really a good one. So just making sure that you're summarizing it and you're giving them the opportunity to be able to change things if they need to be able to change things. And the last thing that I'm going to say, guys, ask for the business. You have no idea. For so many years, for about 7 years, I went across the country with agents and I would just sit with them, with their clients. And this was for business, mainly for group type sales. But I would sit with them and listen to their presentations. And they would do all this work to come up with a great plan for their customer. They did the fact finding. They went and they found the very best product scenario for them and the best setup for the business. And then they do the presentation and then they say something like, so what do you think? And I'm like, no, we don't want to say, what do you think? We want to say one of those questions. Tell me, is there anything in this that I need to change or revisit? Open-ended question. Is there anything out there that I need to change? And then if they say, no, this sounds exactly like what I needed and what I wanted, the next thing you want to say, okay, the only thing that I am going to need is your middle initial so that we can get started. Whatever it is that you choose. I used to say your middle initial because it wasn't threatening. So I would say, I just need your middle initial to get started. And then now I'm getting started with the application. I'm being very assumptive in just doing that. So don't forget to ask for the business. Don't just stop at right before the finish line. Get there and ask for that business and know and believe that you did everything right and possible to make that a successful transaction, not only for your client, but also for yourself. Okay, that's going to do it, guys, for today. I want to thank you for joining us. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can always reach us at training@ahcpsales.com, or you can go to, I'm still laughing at you, Khalid. I'm still laughing. You can also call the 877 number that is on the screen here. You guys have a fabulous week, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed.